If you've been experiencing frame drops during the boarding process in the game, or if your game is eating a ton of disk space, well, Windrose devs just dropped a brand new patch addressing all of this. Performance and optimization issues have been one of the biggest things that people have complained about with Windrose. Although they have been doing their best to put out fires, there is still a lot of optimization to be had. Well, in the most recent patch, they are doing exactly this. They are addressing the frame rate drops that are going to be happening when you are doing the boarding animation fight via ship battles, especially when you guys are on a multiplayer server with multiple people doing it at the exact same time. The frame rate can drop horrendously here, making the fight feel very sluggish and slow, and maybe even your inputs being behind. Well, this update here hopefully will address some of that for some of you guys out there. Everybody's rigs are completely different, and everybody's situation is different, so again, it might not fix this for everybody, but it is a good step forward in reducing the amount of frame drops that you're currently getting via the boarding process. And additionally, here for the ship mechanic in the game, they also have increased the performance when utilizing the ship artillery, so utilizing the cannons for instance, and the ship and player action bars will now actually affect when pressing the button, not releasing it. So I know some people were confused on what that exactly means, but basically beforehand you would just press the button down, nothing would happen until you actually released your mouse. They have actually changed that around now to where it'll happen instantly as soon as you press the button, not on a release. So again, two really awesome changes here on top of the performance increase for the boarding mechanic in the game, and some additional bug fixes here for the ships. The first one being a really annoying one, and that is aiming the ship's artillery sometimes would get stuck in the aiming process, which again was, vastly annoying to deal with if you've experienced it. Secondly, when aiming a battery and blocking, for some reason it would also do the same thing, get yourself stuck into the ship aiming process, kind of like hung up between the two, especially if somebody was driving the ship also trying to aim the battery. And third here, the unstuck command, because you could potentially need to use this, was not available for some reason when controlling a battery on a ship. And lastly, fixing a weird crash that would potentially happen when you would unequip items on your ship. It was super rare and super weird when it would happen, but nevertheless, it looks like they have addressed this issue. I think it's definitely a win here. We're going to have to jump inside and see just exactly how impactful this is for the optimization, and hopefully for all the players out there, this does help smooth things out when it comes to boarding on multiplayer servers. Next up, we've got two big changes here for the farming mechanic and soil in the game. The first one bringing a big one, and that is plants planted by the player should now correctly snap to soil patches, which is absolutely huge. And then the second one here is items dropped on a farm soil, like that players have planted down, like a crop plot for instance, should not go through the ground. And this was another really big one players were talking about, that harvesting their plants sometimes, or if they drop something out of their inventory, it would just sink straight through, and then you weren't able to get that or retrieve that back. So again, really two big options here when it comes to smoothing and optimizing the farming mechanic inside of the game. And lastly, we've got some additional changes for dedicated server users out there. The save workflow.md file folder being missing on dedicated server file structures is now available, so you guys should be able to find it. And for those interested in changing settings here for the world description.json file, will now also have the ability to do so for their dedicated server. And lastly here, an issue that players were experiencing since the last update for the game, that players were unable to delete old worlds or old characters, has now been officially addressed. It's a small patch, but the right fixes, especially the soil mechanic here. If the soil snapping actually does work as intended, this could be absolutely huge and a game changer for farming inside of the game. As always, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, if you found this video helpful, to subscribe here on this channel as we are on the road to hitting 100,000 subscribers. Join the Discord if you want to hang out with me. That's down below in the description. But with that being said, as always, guys, I'll see ya on the next one.